What's happening? This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. And I see everybody out there in the chat room. What's going on? We're having a hard time connecting with our guest today in Australia. So rather than not come on at all or lose the link, which is what happens if you don't go live, I figured I'd come on and jive for a while. What's going on? You know what? It's going to be total freestyle because if this dude don't show up, then that's life. That's life in the big leagues. Australia it's confusing. Australia is in the future. So go figure, you know. How's everybody doing? What's up, Rue? Drew, how do you do? I'm good, man. Aside from this little bump, things have been really good for me lately. Sawdust Sally, what's up? Darren, there you go. Ray Hogan, thanks for coming to the screening the other day, bro. You know, what's going on in the UK, John? The story of Lou. The whole gang's here. We don't have a guest. Kind of crazy, you know. What's up, Laura? Oh, you got my book? Good. Listen, I have all my Grateful Dead stories to talk to this dude about, you know? Dude, I did so much friggin' homework, and I friggin' speed read this dude's book, you know? Laura Zeitlin, did you get my book yet? You know, people are asking about the book, and where is it? Where? I'm doing another... where is it? Hold on. Can we have another Jimmy G episode, Drew? I think that would be. We did 2 already. Yeah, Paris. I'm sorry you missed the screening too. It was great. Do I have pictures of the screening? Oh yeah, here's a picture from my film screening the other day. It was good. It was a great screening. You know, don't worry, Laura, it's coming. The book is coming. Sam Cutler, Walk with Giants. I know, man. You know, he's down in Australia. He's 79 years old. Yeah, thanks, Paris. It was good. Wait, I got a couple pictures. Steven Messina took a couple of pictures. Hold on. Yo. Did you have a good time at the screening?
I had a great time at the screening. Got to meet Arnie Stone in the flesh.
Yeah, I got a picture of you and him somewhere. Wait. You see. Yeah, here you go. Here's a picture of you and Arnie Stone chopping it up. Right, yeah. There you go. Yep.
Oh, look at that. I never saw that shot. That's cool.
I took that. You know, I take pictures
That's great.
too. I take pictures too, you know.
That was great. He was, you know what? There were so many interesting people there, like his crew that he was hanging out with.
Yeah.
And it was great. And the movie was really good too. I mean,
thank you.
You know, and Ray Hogan was there, and we had a great time.
Let me see. I got another picture. It was good. Just got to figure out what's next, you know. Laser Lloyd was great too.
Yeah.
Yep. Wait, here's me and Laser Lloyd. This is a good one. Boom. You know?
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah, he's great, man.
He's much more his beard is much more slimmed down since the movie.
Yeah, he's sort of tightened up his game a little bit.
In the movie, he looked like Moses.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great in the film.
Yeah.
He has an interesting story. Like, he grew up in Connecticut, and he got signed to Atlantic Records, and the dude from Bruce Springsteen from the E Street Band was going to produce his record, and he was in a band called, I think, the New Mavericks or something. And
I heard of that band.
Yeah, and they got signed to Atlantic, and he bailed on it. He had some sort of epiphany, and I think he grew up. He told me. Oh God, I don't remember. Maybe near New Haven.
Yeah, he was really good. He played really well too.
Yeah, the dude. He rips. He's a great guitar player. Here's one of me, Arnie, and Laser Lloyd. Boom. There you go.
Nice.
Yep.
Your dad looks so little in that picture.
I know, right? You know what it took to get my dad up here? Me and the girlfriend unit flew down there on a Monday and then got him and came back with him Tuesday morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He got home safe yesterday and everything?
Yeah, he did.
Good.
Yeah, he got home,
We had that crazy hailstorm yesterday.
All right. For those that I usually don't share stuff like this, but it's that kind of a party. Here's me and my girlfriend, all right? How's that?
Yeah, she is.
She's like, ah! Yep. Yep. That's my main squeeze. So, yeah. I'm a fortunate guy. I have a very supportive and loving girlfriend. So, hey, listen, no matter what happens, even if this guest doesn't come on today, now that we're on, let's do photo of the day. All right, photo of the day. Here we go. Wrong answers only, please. Boom. Here we go. Wrong answers only, please. See what we got here.
I bet Lazy Lloyd doesn't have one of those.
Yeah, no kidding. What do we got? Is it Bon Jovi? Is it Slash? Is it Slash? Is it Bon Jovi? Is it Slash? Is it Yngwie Malmsteen? Is it Keith Richards? Is it Jimi Hendrix? Is it Expensive Trick? Good one. Is it Van Halen? Les Claypool. What's up, Debo?
Debo.
We had the book signing yesterday.
Oh, we had a blast with those guys.
Is it Jimmy Page on steroids? Is it Bun E. Carlos's lawsuit money? Is it Jerry Garcia with a G? Is it Joe Satriani? No. Wait, you sent me another one of these, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell Sam Cutler, like the Grateful Dead saying goes, never miss a Sunday show. Hope he shows up. Yo, Dave, if I could talk to this friggin' guy, I would. He's in Australia. And I think he's having a hard time really grasping, the what exactly the time difference is. Or he's still sleeping. I think where he is 16 hours ahead of us. So who knows? I sent him. It's been hard connecting with him. Is it Mike Damone from Fast Times? All right, hold on. You sent me another one, right? Okay, here's another one. Another one just like the other one. The other one, it's an omen. There you go. Here's another one. Doesn't this guy's been doing this shtick for like 50 years now.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. I mean, mid-70s, you know?
Yeah.
And his guitar collection is insane.
I guess so. And he's still sponsored by that same guitar company.
Yeah, I think that's Hamer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's, you know, and usually during one of those shows, he changes guitars like every song. So
it's 7:15 a.m. tomorrow where Sam is. I know. I told him that. He knows that. He was supposed to sign on at 6. He was supposed to sign on at 6:30 a.m. his time. We talked about it, but who fucking knows with this guy? Yeah, I sent him an email. I'll send him another.
Do we have any Australians in the crowd that can go knock on his door?
Yeah, any of you Aussies watching the show? Any of you deadheads out there could connect with him?
Here's his address.
Yeah. Dude is still asleep
Sam.
for sure. You know? Is it Bobby Steele? Is it dopey looking guitar? Is it Bo Dudley on LSD? What's with this Bo Dudley? Don't you guys know how to spell?
Well,
is it Pablo Picasso? Is it Sam in a box behind Steven?
Yes.
I
keep all of our guests.
Box?
I keep all our guests in boxes until it's time for me to take them out.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
Okay,
I'm in a different warehouse today. I'm the West Side today.
Oh, holy mackerel. Hold
Uh-oh.
on a second. Here he is. Hold on. Are you with us, Sam? Give me a thumbs up, buddy. All right. Wow. Sam Cutler is backstage. I'll bring you on in a second, Sam. Wow. Here we go. Let's finish this. Right answers only, please. Right answers only, please. Here we go. Tell us, is it? Come on, right answers only.
We know Ray
I love
Hogan
it when
knows.
the plan comes together. Is it Rick Nielsen?
Well, the other one was.
All right, what is it? Tell us what it is. Is it Cheap?
This is actually, there we go. This is Cheap Trick from last week, as a matter of fact. They played at the Paramount in Huntington. And the very cool thing about this particular show, having seen this band 1,000 times over the years, is Tom Peterson, the bass player, has just undergone open heart surgery.
Oof.
So he was unable to do the tour. So on bass is Robin Zander's son.
Wait a second.
Robin.
That's not Tom Peterson playing bass?
No, that's Robin Zander's son, Robin.
Yeah, look. It looks like.
I know
Peterson.
he's dressed like him and everything.
Don't you hate when bands do that? They get rid of one dude and they bring another guy on, and they dress him up like the other guy.
Well, you know, the crazy thing about this band at this moment in time is that the drummer is Dax Nielsen, who is Rick Nielsen's son.
So you got two fathers and two sons in the band.
So you have two proud fathers and sons. And, you know, Dax has been with them for a bunch of years now. But Robin, the last time I saw Cheap Trick with Tom Peterson, Robin number 2 was playing rhythm guitar.
Is that right?
And he's a fantastic singer too. His son sings the backgrounds and he sings the song Downed, and he sounds like young Robin Zander. I mean, he's got the genetics. He's really good.
Chicken Sons.
Yeah. They really were great.
It's like replacing Bruce Lee mid-movie with a lookalike. Remember when they did that? Like Bruce Lee died in the middle of a movie and they brought this dude on like Bruce Lee. It was like, it kind of looked like Bruce Lee, you know?
That's fun. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, I mean, this is a cool thing though, because you still have, and they really sound. This was one of the best shows I've seen them play in years too.
All right, cool.
You know, and it was very cool to see because, like, honestly, when they called it a Van Halen reunion with Wolfgang, I was like, that's not a reunion without Michael Anthony. But
yeah, I saw that. It sucked.
but this is a different story to me. So
Listen,
you know,
bro,
having the two
who's to
sons
say
was a really
the
cool
Rolling
thing.
Stones are playing Detroit tomorrow without Charlie Watts? That's a little awkward.
That's a whole nother thing there.
All right, let's bring our guest on. Let me get cracking.
Absolutely. See
All
everybody
right.
in a bit.
We'll see you in a bit, man. All right, what's happening? The excitement is just ratcheted up. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by Organic Grill, New York Hardcore Comics, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, back to the Organic Grill. It's a vegan restaurant located in the East Village of New York City at 123 First Avenue, featured in New York Magazine, New York Times, and Veg News. Their dishes have won numerous awards, including Best Goddamn Veggie Burger. They make their own cheeses, sausages, and burger patties, and every dish on the menu can be made gluten-free. This year, they're celebrating their 21st anniversary, and they're all about having a great time while enjoying amazing, clean food. They have now fully reopened for business and look forward to seeing you. Get in touch with them and order some great food at www.theorganicgrill.com. Also, while we're at it, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, located in Lakewood, Colorado, is the Rocky Mountain headquarters for all things punk, hardcore, and metal. Established in 2014, they have the largest selection of records, CDs, shirts, stickers, patches, and accessories between Chicago and LA. Get in touch with them at www.chainreactionrecords.com. That said, let's clear the deck here. Yeah, that jackfruit sandwich is good. Yep. All good. Let's clear the deck. Let's bring our guest on. Here we go. Today's guest is an English former tour manager, and author hailing from Hatfield, England. He is known for his work with many bands, including the Rolling Stones and the Grateful Dead. He was a key player in the infamous Altamont Festival, and in the 1970s organized the Dead's appearances at a number of memorable events, including the 1970 Festival Express Tour of Canada, the Summer Jam at Watkins Glen, which had 600,000 people there, way bigger than Woodstock, kids, and the 1972 Europe Tour. Please welcome, coming at us from Sydney, Australia, and I must say it is an absolute personal honor to have him on the show, Mr. Sam Cutler. Hey, man.
How come you didn't play any music there, man? I expected the New World Symphony or something. Hello, New York. Hello, Giroux. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. And
shit, we made it. I got kidnapped by some kangaroos on the way in. No, man. What happened is that they've got this weird thing. I don't know if you do it in America called daylight saving.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. Okay, so we did it wrong. The time I gave you was subject to daylight saving. So you were an hour earlier than I expected. I was just in the middle of eating my Weetabix there and having my veggie burger for breakfast. No, just kidding. Anyway, we made it. We're here. We're alive.
Absolutely. Hey, you know what I was thinking? It was like I just put this book out, and a bunch of people around the world bought my book, including some people in Australia. So I go to the post office to mail the friggin' thing, and they tell me to mail the book to Australia is $67.
Yeah, good, huh? Hey, man,
what's going on over there?
Listen, there's no post between America and Australia, and we've just bought nuclear submarines or something from America. It's all bullshit. It's nonsense. No, it's not our fault. It's your fault. Yeah. Listen, there's a standard operating procedure in the world. If anything goes wrong, blame America.
Right.
For 50 years, America's been saying they're in charge. They're the leader. They're this and there's that. And we've all believed it. You know what I mean? So now they've got to, you've got to carry the can, brother. You guys are in charge. Who knows?
Hey, here's a question from Thomas Starkey. What is a Vegemite sandwich? I've been wondering since 1982.
Well, you know what axle grease is, don't you? Put on the axle of a car. Well, Vegemite, excuse me, looks a bit like that. It's kind of black and greasy. Goodness knows what's in it, but everybody in Australia has been raised on it. I'm surprised you could find some book readers in Australia. I'm only kidding. Vegemite is an Australian tradition. The English call it Marmite. It's actually made from the stuff that's left over when they make beer, which is apparently black and horrible. But you smear it on your toast, and it raises giant, footballers and basketball players because obviously it's a big. My son, I've got two sons. An Australian lady who I love, and one of them is a giant man. He's like 6'2" and I don't know how many 1,000 pounds because we do work in kilos over here. But he's massive, and the food here is excellent. It's a bit like Southern California, you know what I mean? Lots of fruit, all that, and this strange, mysterious thing called Vegemite. So Vegemite is, it's like a spread. You don't have the equivalent in. I guess the equivalent in America would be kind of peanut butter or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
you know
sense.
what I mean? Anyway, it's disgusting. Right. I don't like it.
All right, so let's chop it up a little bit.
Go.
How did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
No, I was a war baby. I was born in the Second World War, and my family were killed in the war. I went to an orphanage, and then I was adopted by a communist family. They were very nice. They didn't hit me. Or the only thing that I could complain about my childhood was that various adults incessantly explained things to me. It drove me crazy, at great length. So I used to want to get away from adults as much as possible. So no, my mother played piano, my adoptive mother played piano, and my Uncle Jack played violin. But I wouldn't say we were in a particularly, musical household. It's just that we were all very left-wing. They were all trade union people and things like that. And just like trade union people in America, songs were part and parcel of that. So yeah, there's a lot.
Just like, let me say, just sort of like, who am I thinking of? Why am I drawing a blank? This land is your land. Yeah,
exactly. But more like, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the union.
Right.
Union
I'm
songs,
a union man through and through. Right.
Yeah. Stuff like that,
Yeah.
And then, so I was interested in English folk music and stuff like that. And then, before rock and roll hit England, there was a kind of folk music revival, and I was, 13, something like that, 14, involved in, that just on I played guitar badly, folk guitar, right? You know what I mean? And it just kind of morphed from that. I mean, and the end of the Second World War in America was very different to the, like the 50s and 60s, early 60s in America were very different from England. England had rationing. Man, there was a lot of problems, you know what I mean? We had rationing until I was 9, so that'd be 1951.
Wow.
There's rationing. I never saw a banana, an orange, anything like that. You know what I mean? Until
were parts of where you grew up still bombed out and stuff like that when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, London suffered big time, man. Big time. I mean, it was bombed. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, various kids that I knew at school, got bits of their bodies blown off by unexploded bombs and shit. A kid lost his hand, and then they'd find bullets and stuff and play with them and blow off fingers and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, thanks to the Americans, I mean, and I mean this, I'm being sincere here. In 1947, 48, I mean, people were starving in Europe, mate, and there was a terrible, terrible hard winter. And that's where the Marshall Plan came in, General George Marshall and all that. Right. They saved Europe. Europe had no food. There was big problems. So the Yanks fed everyone, basically. I can remember we didn't have milk, but we had powdered milk. And it had USDA on the side of it, United States Department of Agriculture. And we had powdered eggs when I was a boy, So Yeah, no, the Americans, there was a lot of goodwill towards the Americans, apart from the fact, of course, hundreds of thousands of Americans were involved in the war effort and the D-Day landings and all that stuff. So that all, of course, nobody in the current generation knows anything about that. When you talk about wars, they're talking about Vietnam or Iraq or something. No one knows. The Second World War has faded into history. And
I will say this though. Winston Churchill is revered here in America. He's very well loved here in America. I know my father also, who's still with us, is a big fan. And what you were talking about before, it reminded me of when the V2 rockets, I mean the V1s, but when the big V2s came in and did damage, Churchill, it's an interesting world now. Back then, he shut the media down. They didn't even mention that because they didn't want the Germans to know that they were causing damage. In this day and age, it would be on the internet in a minute,
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, Churchill, it depends on which side of the bridge you're looking at him. I mean, my mother was banned from his office for calling him a drunken old warmonger. So it depending on who you were. I mean, the fact of the matter is, after the end of the Second World War, he got voted out of office, and they voted a Labour, which he'd call like a Democrat kind of government in. Anyway, we better bring it up to today. And now I've just, I live in Australia, and Australia is, is a wonderful place. It's very much like where I live is very much like Southern California. So, the big argument here is whether the Yanks or the Aussies invented surfing. That's it. Now, you want to get political in an Australian pub, argue with Americans about surfing, because of course, the Americans claim it was from Hawaii and all that, and Southern California, and the Aussies claim that they had a part to play. Anyway, this is very much a beach surfing kind of culture in Australia, and I love it here. I've been here 22 years.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that in a bit.
Yeah.
And I loved the book, man. I read the book and I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
Right,
I really did.
You'll like my next one. It's called Sex for the Over 80s. You'll be.
Hey, you're not even 80 yet. What are you talking about, man?
No, but I'm doing the research, aren't I?
So tell us about Black Hill Enterprises and how you got involved with them and how that kind of set you on your way.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the music business in the early days there in England. If you liked music and you were into music, you could you could get involved. You could go and help lift equipment and do various things. And I just did that. I started off helping out, and I ran a little a place in a church hall that was free, and Charlie Watts used to come down and play. All kinds of different musicians, people from Pink Floyd came and played, all kinds of people. And one of the guys that was there was Alex's Corner, who gave me my first job. As he said, we talked about what I wanted to do in the music business. I said I wanted to be a tour manager, so he took me on as his tour manager, which basically meant carrying his guitars. He had 2 guitars, and we did a tour of Germany and stuff like that, and just learning the ropes, as you went. It wasn't as if you could go to, a university or study it anywhere. You just studied things by doing them, So I got more and more involved, and Black Hill was a kind of the first, if you like, alternative booking agency in London.
They didn't follow the pattern of the old guard. They
the old guard were old. You know what I mean? It's a bit like me, man. I'm not in the music business anymore. I'm a year off being 80. You know what I mean? It's like the music business is for people who are 25, 30. That's when you want to go out and work on tours and stay up all night and chase girls and all that stuff. Not that I still chase girls, but you know what I mean? It's a young person's game. So I went with Alexis, and then I basically became a kind of general do everything that was necessary at Black Hill. And by the time I got to Black Hill, I knew about amplifiers and guitars and rudimentary sound system stuff, all of which was in its infancy. It's like, I remember when Blue Cheer, an American band called Blue Cheer, came to England, and we were amazed. They had a foldback. We'd never seen that before, because before everyone that sang heard their vocals through the PA speakers.
Through the bouncing off the back of the hall and coming back.
Exactly. And you did the best you could. It was very kind of rudimentary. And there was a band that had foldback. We were very impressed by that. So anyway, I went, Black Hill. I worked for Black Hill, and Black Hill, miraculously, all the parks in London, or most of them, owned by the Crown, the Queen, right? The King, the Queen of the day, right? But nominally. So they got permission from the people that control the parks, in effect, the royal household, to put free music on in the park, which was great. So
in Hyde Park.
Yeah, Hyde Park is in the center of London. It's like, the park in New York.
It's like Central Park.
Yeah, it's big. It's beautiful. So it was a beautiful spot that we picked in Hyde Park. It was kind of raised. It was beside a lake called the Serpentine, and then the ground rose up, so it was a natural bowl. That's where we put on free shows. So
and one of the first ones that you put on there was the Blind Faith show, right?
Yeah. Before that, Pink Floyd, then Blind Faith. Blind Faith had about 150,000 at it, and that's the first one that Mick saw. He came. He was living with Mary Ann, and Mick was at it, and Donovan and Paul McCartney and people like that. They all came and showed up, and hung out in the backstage area and all that stuff. Although there wasn't really a backstage area at all, it was all very free and mellow. And about 150,000 people. The band played. It was great. Everyone loved it, and things took off from there. And Mick saw it, and I had a good chat with Mick because I knew Marianne, and Mick was very interested in it because the Stones hadn't played for getting on for 3 years. They needed to play, and they loved music. They're musicians. They wanted to play.
And the reason they weren't playing in those years was because of them getting busted and the harassment and all the bullshit. Did that have a lot to do with that?
Basically, yeah. And Brian, and there were musical differences. They started out as a kind of purist R&B band, playing kind of Muddy Waters stuff, and trying to,
and that's something that I think a lot of people today don't realize, that Brian Jones early on in the Stones was a big part of that outfit.
Absolutely. It was his band.
Yeah. People don't even know who he is today. They don't, he's been lost in the shifting sands of time. Brian Jones, played great bottleneck slide guitar early on.
It was amazing, yeah. But I mean, look, listen, bands do change.
Yes.
Bands morph. I mean, look at the Grateful Dead. Look how many people played in the Grateful Dead.
Sure.
Bands do change, but I mean, I think the very nature of the Rolling Stones changed. Their music changed for sure, and they went in a slightly different direction, which wasn't, let's say, purist Chicago R&B. You know what I mean? It was kind of R&B mixed with pop music. I don't know how you describe it. Anyway, it was a unique thing, and the Stones needed to play, as I say. They hadn't played for about 3 years. I was chatting with Mick. I was very curious about how it all worked, how we organised the Blind Faith show. And I told him more by luck than judgment, but we got it together, you know what I mean? And it was like, because all this was new. Nobody had put on shows for 150,000 people in a London park before, so we had to learn how to do it, you know what I mean, as we were doing it, in effect. Though we weren't stupid, we knew various things needed to be done.
There was no roadmap to follow at that point. I mean,
Indeed.
It was early on in the rock and roll game, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I immediately recognized from the Blind Faith show was that we needed to make the stage higher. The stage for the Blind Faith show was all right. It was maybe say 4 or 5 feet high. But if you have a mass of people, then the stage needs to be high, to keep people off it, because it makes it difficult for people to get on it and stuff like that. And just so that more people can see, if you have a stage that's, like you do nowadays at big festivals, the stage could be 10 feet high, 10 feet high, one set of stairs at the back, and that one person can control people coming and going on the stage very easily, So yeah, we learned lots of lessons.
Here's a shot. Here's a shot. This is Hyde Park. This is
there it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
Yep.
So that shows you how high the stage is. Everyone's sitting down, mind you.
It's a lot of people.
A lot of people, man. A lot of people, and everybody behaved. There was no problems. 2 old ladies did the medical services. If you were ill, you got a cup of tea and a biscuit. That was it. And they saw 4 or 5 people, but nobody. Brian Jones. It was the show was originally intended, and you could just see him in the front there. Was to introduce Mick Taylor to the audience, right? And there was a lot of sympathy for the Stones from and support. And then what happened was that Brian died 4 or 5 days before that show. So it morphed from being an introduce Mick Taylor show into more of a memorial to Brian's show. And it was beautiful, man. It was, 300,000 or 400,000 people. Who knows?
And you infamously let the moths or the butterflies out, right?
Yeah. I mean, we did what we could, man, to make it a special thing for Brian. And everybody, as I say, everybody was very sympathetic to the Stones. Nobody was arrested. There was no cops anyway. The cops didn't attend, in the mistaken belief that if they weren't there, it would all degenerate into a riot. Because what you should remember is 3 years before that, when the Rolling Stones played, the shows lasted 5 minutes, and then everybody charged the stage, and there was complete total mayhem. It was like a riot, you know what I mean? It was ridiculous. So, yeah, that was ridiculous. So
what I thought was really interesting in the book is when you explain that these guys weren't even. It's like a fighter that's not used to going 15 rounds. These guys never got a chance to play more than a couple songs before they got pulled off the stage and had to make a run for it. So really, when you first started working with them, they actually had to look at playing a full set for the first time.
Yeah, they were thrilled. I mean, the Rolling Stones, wanted people to listen to their music. Yeah. I mean, they loved all the madness. The madness is the madness, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's the circus of the Rolling Stones. Well, but they were thrilled, that people were listening. I mean, and when they went to America on the '69 tour, which I took them on, and we all, the band started playing, it was a completely different audience. Now it was an audience that sat there, stoned, probably on pot or something, or you know what I mean, and wanted to hear the band. So it was a complete different experience for the band, which they enjoyed.
Here you are, right in the thick of things, so to speak. You're right in the middle there, and I guess at this point, you had to quarterback these press conferences, and you were really the point guy. Somebody asked, who's the guy next to Charlie on the end there? That's not Ian Stewart, right? All the way at the end.
No, that's Ronnie Schneider. That
was their lawyer, right?
The Klein's nephew.
Yeah,
Alan
right.
Klein's nephew.
Right.
Yeah, he was like an accountant, looked after the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a complete. In those 3 years, the music business for the Rolling Stones and for many other people changed between 1966 and '69. It changed radically. It changed from people going to, to shows and wetting themselves really, with hysteria and charging at the stage and being completely, total over the top madness, to people sitting there going, okay, I want to hear some high music. I'm stoned. I want to hear some great music, So it was very, very different environment.
Robert Weir says, ask him about Bear and Bear's medicine. Listen, Ace, we're going to get to that in a little while. Don't worry. We're going to make our way to Owsley and all that. So So hang. Is that an Owsley ring you're wearing, by the way?
It's a Grateful Dead ring, yeah.
Yeah. Did Owsley make that? Did Owsley?
No, he didn't make it, but he was involved in the design.
Yeah.
Let me do it there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Here's another shot of that era where you're leading the charge here with what looks like two acoustic guitars. This looks like 69, right? Looking at what Mick is wearing, I would think.
That's 69. Right? That's in LA.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and it's the 69 tour, and we're going on stage basically from backstage, and it's Mick, people like that. Yeah,
I like this shot here that I came across. This one here, and boom. There you go.
Here it comes. That's me and Keith. Yeah, that's when he visited Australia. He had here about 6 years ago. And actually, Charlie, bless him, called me up. Said, "Hey, we're coming to Australia, and you want to bring your kids, come and say hello and everything." And I had my sons, I think they were about one was 16 and one was 18. So I said to him, "Hey, you want to go to see the Rolling Stones?" And my son said, "The Rolling Stones? Granny likes the Rolling Stones." Anyway, they both came, and the Rolling Stones were beautiful. They were very kind, and we had a great time. Lovely visit. Yeah, but so going back to the 69 tour, there were several things that were very different about that tour.
Please tell us.
One of which was that the audiences all sat there and just, wanted to be entertained rather than charging at the stage and having a giant riot. None of that happened. Everybody wanted to listen and dig the music, and I think that adding Mick Taylor made the Rolling Stones very much more musical, if I can say that. It's hard to describe, but his contribution to the band was very special. Brilliant guitar player, man. Lovely melodic kind of player, very different to Brian, and not so heavily, more almost like of a jazz player than a R&B player, but nonetheless a wonderful addition to the band. So everyone was delighted in the music. The other thing was that the Stones toured with their own PA, their own on-stage sound systems, so that each gig they had the same equipment. It used to be when they toured before that, that you played through whatever was in, San Francisco, LA, wherever you were, Phoenix, you played through local equipment. So that's very difficult for a vocalist like Mick, you know what I mean, or indeed for a band. So the Rolling Stones played all that tour with their own equipment, and that had a major effect on the quality of the music. I mean, I don't think in some respects, I don't think they'd ever played better.
Is that the tour? Is that the tour that Tina Turner opened up for that whole tour?
Yeah, and there were all kinds of wonderful artists on it. It was amazing.
Now, so you're in there. You're in the Stones world. You're moving along, and I guess at some point Rock Scully comes to London, and you meet with Rock, and then this whole Altamont thing gets hatched.
Yeah, well, Rock came to London before the '69 tour.
Okay,
he came to London, and just after we'd done the London gig, and hung out with Keith. Got into all kinds of naughties with Keith, and it was him who suggested to Keith and Mick, that it'd be a great idea for the Rolling Stones to do a free concert in California. And nobody, really gave it that much attention at the time. Everybody went, "Yeah, well, a great idea," but nobody really, it wasn't, high on the list of priorities. But Rock was an interesting guy, bless him. He was a lovely guy, and of course, he was central to the Grateful Dead. He was their manager for many years, and
it was him and Danny Rifkin early on, right?
Him and Rifkin, yeah.
And
Rock was the one that handled all the record company stuff, and he understood record companies, which most of the people in the Grateful Dead really didn't. But Rock handled all that, and he was friends with Chesley Millican,
right?
Chesley managed Terry Reid and was the former head of Epic Records in Europe. And a dear old mate of mine. In fact, when he died, I named my second son in his honor, Chesley. Yeah.
Did he end up managing the Dead?
No,
No.
but he worked with me in a booking agent. We booked them.
Sure.
We acted as their agent managers. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that later. That was out of town tours.
Yeah. Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah.
So things move forward, and just just knowing what I know, it went from possibility of a free concert in Golden Gate, and the word got out there, and it got all fucked up because Mick opened his mouth in public, and that chased it out of there. The city of San Francisco wasn't having it, and then you had a beautiful location at Sears Point Racetrack, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what happened in San Francisco was that Bill Graham led the charge against the Stones playing in Golden Gate Park because he was having issues with Ronnie Schneider about not getting enough gigs. He wanted more gigs, and was being greedy, basically. Mm-hmm. And and the guy that wrote the music column in the San Francisco Chronicle, can't think of his name. He supported.
Would that be Gleason? Ralph Gleason?
Yeah, Gleason. Ralph Gleason.
Yeah, Ralph Gleason.
Yep. Asshole. He wrote a whole thing, saying that the Stones would wreck the park and it was a terrible idea and da. So of course, everybody got frightened in the city council and they blocked it. So then Sears Point came up, and then they got greedy and wanted a share of the film.
Right.
And all this was going on. I was on tour. Nobody from the Stones was involved really. And then the Stones hired Mel Belli. I mean, he knows about as much about rock and roll as he did about, the dark side of the moon, and all of a sudden Altamont came into the picture.
Sergeant D got a question. Didn't Bill Graham explicitly suggest that you guys not do a free Stone show?
No, he didn't, Sergeant D, whoever you are. He didn't say that, and that's absolutely not the case.
Okay.
All that Bill Graham did was wreck the possibility of the Rolling Stones actually playing in San Francisco.
Right.
I should point out something here, right?
Please.
That the whole thing of a free concert in San Francisco originated as an idea with the Grateful Dead. It wasn't organized by the Rolling Stones. It wasn't the Rolling Stones free concert in San Francisco. It was the Grateful Dead's free concert. The Grateful Dead invited all the artists that were on the bill, were personally invited by the Grateful Dead. So that's the Jefferson Airplane, Santana, right? All these people, Crosby, Stills and Nash. The Rolling Stones didn't know any of them people.
Jefferson Airplane was on the bill, right?
Yeah. They were all invited by the Grateful Dead to play, right? And it was all organized out of the Grateful Dead's office. I was in Miami, Florida, when we were watching all this from afar and getting reports, from San Francisco. It was plainly that's a fake poster, by the way.
Is that right? Oh yeah. Of course it is. Security by Hell's Angels. That totally would be on a fucking poster, right?
Yeah, right.
That's bullshit,
complete nonsense.
Interesting.
What's I going to say? Anyway, we got more and more alarmed about how disorganized it all seemed to be. And I was asked by Mick to go out and sort it out, see what the hell's happening. Well, it was chaos, man.
Yeah.
Michael Lang was there, the so-called
Mr. Woodstock, right?
Yeah, the so-called producer of Woodstock. Michael couldn't organize a decent cup of tea. Anyway, right. You know what I mean. He's a lovely guy and all that. But
let me just ask. Like it seems to me like this thing had a bad vibe right out of the gate.
Yeah, it did. Well, the thing is, excuse me, there was opposition to it, from the city fathers in San Francisco, but it was just there wasn't enough time to organize it properly. The site at Sears Point would have been wonderful. It was a perfect site. The stage was designed to be on the side of a hill at Sears Point. It could have accommodated many, many thousands of people. But the people that ran Sears Point wanted a slice of the film, and Mick wasn't prepared to give it to them. So that's what screwed that site up. At that point, it should have been cancelled.
And let me just add, that was being filmed by the Measles brothers, right? The
Maisels, yeah.
I'm just kidding. The Maisels, right?
Maisels with measles. Yeah, no, bless them. They were making a film, and the free concert was going to be the highlight of the film and all that stuff. So, there was a pressure for it to continue and go on. And then, of course, the cancellation of the Sears Point site was 5 days before the actual showtime of December 6th. So there was the pressure of thousands of people were coming from all over America to this show, man. It wasn't just a little show in San Francisco. It became this kind of national event, thanks to the hysteria of the press. So, then they came up with this alternative site anyway. And I didn't go and see it. I said, Rot Scully, what's his name? Don't eat the brown acid from
Wavy Gravy?
No, not Wavy. The guy. Oh, come on! I'm having an old timers moment here.
Not Abby Hoffman. No.
No, Skip. Not Skip. We'll think of his name in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
He did all the technical stuff on the tour.
Oh, Chip.
Yeah, Chip. Not Skip. Chip.
Yeah.
Chipmunk and Michael Lang. The three of them. Yeah. I sent them in a helicopter to check this place out, and they came back and said, "Yeah, it can be done."
Yeah.
I mean, it was an absolute shithole. They should have come back and said, "No, we can't do it there."
And let me just say, I'm an East Coast dude, and but I do know where that racetrack is. It's like in a pass between two. It's like geographically, it's in a horrible fucking spot.
It's in the Chaparral, the high Chaparral desert.
Yeah, it's
dreadful. Dreadful, man. It's actually called the Altamont Pass.
Yeah.
Between two kind of, just dreadful. Dreadful. Yeah. Anyway, they then said it could be done. All the stuff was transferred from one site to the other, including a stage which was just barely up to your knees. And they put the stage in the wrong place. They put the stage in the middle of the bowl. Instead of up on the side of the hill, they put it down the bottom, which was a great mistake. So
because everything feeds down onto this, everything
exactly.
like gravity, water flows down to the
Exactly. Yeah. It was just that was logistically a nightmare. So the whole thing was a mess. It was a nightmare. Everybody wanted to forget about it. And the irony of it all is that the people who organized it, the Grateful Dead, didn't even play.
Well, there's that famous footage of them coming off the helicopter and them going, "Oh, they're hitting people? We're out of here."
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
what's his name from Santana's? The drummer for Mike Shreve says,
Mike Shreve.
And Garcia says, "Oh, they're hitting musicians. Oh, they knocked out Marty. We're out of there."
Yeah, it wasn't, man, it was a disaster. But then, listen, since then, I mean, not to minimize, how horrible it was. Since then, of course, there's been proper disasters.
Yeah.
I mean, you just recently had one in Houston. But, man, there was that nightclub fire where I don't know how many people died. Zillions. Like 300 people or 200 people died in that fire in the nightclub where all the doors were locked, and there's been all kinds of horror stories.
It seems to me like as good as Woodstock was, Altamont was the opposite. It just was bad. And then the whole other concept that there was a lot of really powerful, bad LSD out there. People were really. People were incredibly high on bad LSD before a day before the thing even started.
Sure. I mean, you got to look, there's the media love to play this, black and white thing of Woodstock was wonderful. Woodstock was a shit show. There was no food at Woodstock, and in fact, local towns, including Woodstock itself, and basically people who certainly weren't hippies, but were the parents of hippies, if you like, straight people, made food and collected food to send to Woodstock to help people there. The toilets weren't working. Everybody that played on the stage got electrocuted. I mean, the thing about Woodstock, the thing that saved Woodstock was that there was this wonderful cooperative. I wasn't there, but I mean, I understand, it was a wonderful cooperative desire to get through it and share the experience, and everybody got high and enjoyed themselves. Altamont, it was completely different. A lot of the people at Altamont, weren't from San Francisco.
Right.
They were from down the peninsula, man, like from San Jose or from San Bernardino, tough places, man, it was completely.
But I think it can be said like any, and I can relate to this in just doing shows on a much smaller level and being in a band, is you do something nice and the word gets out there. And when you do the next one, you got people that come to it that are just so vague, not even connected to it. They're just there. They just,
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that, man. I mean, there's a lot, you go to Grateful Dead or Dead and Company shows, there's people there who are drunk, which is the antithesis of what the Grateful Dead were about. You've frozen there, my friend. Are you still receiving me? Am I taking over your show, and am I the only person talking?
I'm
back.
I'm back.
You're back. Oh, hi. How was it? Wow. Did you go to the toilet or what?
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to do. We do a little feature on the show, and I want to bring somebody on. And we're going to do album. We're going to do album of the week with you. I know you're going to connect with this.
Okay.
And we're going to enjoy this. Let me bring on Sid the Kid. What's up, Sid?
What's up, Drew? Hey, Drew. Really quick, I got a special guest with me.
He's not a kid.
Hey, what's up, Michelle?
What's up?
All right.
Long time no see.
Come on, Sid. Let's do it.
All right, Drew.
Sid's the oldest kid I've seen in a long time.
Here in New York, Sam, you got Joey, Joey the Worm, Sid the Kid, Mac the Knife. Everybody you grew up with has a nickname here.
Lovely.
That's how it works here.
Hey, Sid. So you ready?
Yep. Let's do it, Drew.
All right, let's do it with Sam. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Sid the Kid's got the floor. This is album of the week.
All right.
Boom.
Oh, yeah, I know that album.
Go ahead, Sid. You got it.
All right, Drew, this might be a long one. I'm just going to let you know now because there's a lot to talk about this record. What do you, basically
Don't get
I'm going
too
to
crazy. We got a long show.
Hey,
bro.
I'm not certain people on the show, Drew. I actually try to get to the point. You know that. But anyway, what do you get when you have 4 architecture and art students in the mid-'60s? Well, obviously, you have a band that later became known as Pink Floyd, and this is their debut album entitled "At the Piper at the Gates of Dawn." This was recorded in, I believe, February. When they recorded this, I believe it was February 21st to May 21st of 1967 at the infamous Abbey Road Studios in London. With its release happening, I believe, on August 5th, when it was, of the same year. Norman Smith, I believe, was also the producer, and EMI put this out. There was that moment in time when a band shines through, and this was that band to do it and even push the boundaries further when it came to, psychedelic rock or just the specific type of genre they were playing at the time. And from, even EMI's, having it recorded at Abbey Road Studios, Norman Smith even was a very central figure in doing the negotiations for EMI, even helped them ensure that the album was going to have that unique sound. And through his experimentation and all the equipment that they had there, it was definitely something different, even for at that time when that record came out. Yeah, it's this, but you really had to listen to that record to definitely hear the sounds and the different, things of that record. It's something, honestly, to me, that was a lot different, even though this is not my bag to be honest with you, but it's definitely a different record compared to what was around at that specific, time and space.
Yep. Okay. Hey, Sam.
Yeah.
Is this a record that resonates with you?
Sure. I mean, these were all friends of mine.
Tell us about it, please.
Very interesting. This is a bit like the Grateful Dead produced Oxymoxar at the same time in America. And it's a very interesting example of the difference between the American psychedelic experience and the British psychedelic experience, as seen through the music. The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, the album of the Pink Floyd, is very kind of, in a way, is gentle and kind of, gentle and kind of Regency English and quite sophisticated. Whereas the Grateful Dead thing is more robust and kind of vulgar, and a different kind of, can you pass the acid test in a kind of almost competitive kind of sense.
Speaking of acid, a lot of this record had to do obviously with Syd Barrett writing a lot of the material here. A lot of those LSD trips kind of escalated what became this album.
Sure. I mean, the 60s, between 65, let's say, and 1970, those last 5 years of the 60s, constituted a change in everybody's lives. Everybody's young lives, it constituted a change in literature, in painting, and in music. So we went from Liberace and people like that, you know what I mean, and Frank Sinatra and all that kind of stuff, to the Beatles, who changed everything. And then the Beatles the Beatles morphed into other things with their own psychedelic experiences that ended up making Sgt. Pepper, which was about the same time as this album.
And this was recorded, you said, Sid, this was recorded at Abbey Road, of course.
Yes,
right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So as was Sgt. Pepper.
Right.
But that, I think Sgt. Pepper was recorded in 67 as well, if I'm not mistaken.
It was around the same time, but obviously, like, Norman Smith did really have a lot to do. Like, he wasn't just there behind the board. Like, he had some input on this whole actual recording process, like with how it sounded.
Also, what ties in here is what we were talking to Sam before about Black Hill Enterprises. They managed the Pink Floyd back then. So.
They managed Pink Floyd, and then when Sid, had issues.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Personality issues, as it were.
Right.
When Sid left Pink Floyd, the people at Black Hill didn't think that Floyd would make it without him. Such was his creative input.
Right.
So they went with Sid, and Pink Floyd went with other people, and that was a big miscalculation on Black Hill's part. While you're doing this function, I just must slip away for 2 seconds because bladder issues.
Go ahead. There you go. You know what, Sid? Well done. And I just want to say, listen, I'm a big fan of this record. It is psychedelically primitive, but like Sam was saying, it's very whimsical. Like I want to ride my bike, and that's the way Syd Barrett wrote. And also, Syd Barrett didn't play on their second record, or maybe he did on a track or two. That's always up. But he went and did the 2 solo records after that, and I gotta say, those 2 Syd Barrett solo records, dangerous stuff. Those 2 Syd Barrett solo records, man. I've delved deep into the Syd Barrett solo records, and those things are scary to me. And
that's what all those LSD trips are for.
Right, but what the Syd Barrett solo record, Madcap Laughs, and the other one. What the Syd Barrett solo record to me it says, it's like, I am losing my mind. I know I am losing my mind, and this is the document of it. And if you're not in the right space, that stuff is dangerous stuff to be listening to.
Exactly, Drew.
All right, Sid. Hey, thank you, bro. I'll let you go back to your rehearsal.
All righty. Wait. Michelle, do you want to say something?
Come on, Sid.
Sup, everybody. That's
Hi,
all I
Sid.
got.
You pay peanuts, you get monkeys, right?
Hey. No, that's cool. I mean, I think that album is interesting, and I mean, I wouldn't worry. Sid, was very brave. He was an artist, man, and artists love to experiment.
Did you see him? Did you see the transformation of him from sort of being somewhat coherent to just, from what I understand, being in a real sort of zombified state? Did you see that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that happened to a lot of people, not just Sid.
Yeah.
I mean, what we should remember is my generation, the generation that was doing all that stuff in the 60s, paid a heavy price. We didn't really know about drugs, man. So it was all a great experiment, I mean, Janis died from, mixing drugs and alcohol. Jimi Hendrix the same. People didn't know, you know what I mean? What was safe and what was right. And artists, have always experimented. The Grateful Dead themselves experimented, and not everyone is necessarily, pro LSD, if you like to put it like that. I mean, the Rolling Stones all took acid. Some of them liked it. Keith did. Keith took a lot of acid, and some of them didn't. Mick didn't. Mick wasn't a big devotee. And Bill Wyman certainly wasn't, and
it seems to me like and I guess this is sort of common knowledge, that Charlie Watts was really the unsung hero and the really kind soul of that band.
Well, Charlie was a sweetheart, man. I'll tell you a story about Charlie.
Please.
When he used to come, I used to do these shows, little shows in a little church hall. People would come and they could give whatever they wanted at the door to get in. If they didn't have any money, they could still come in. Nobody gave a fuck, It was cool. And what is that? IG at Sam Cutler.
That's your Instagram.
Is it? See?
Yeah, I think we didn't get a chance to talk beforehand. I figured if somebody wanted to reach out, that's on the Instagram.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, Charlie used to come down and play just because he loved to play. It was great. Alex's Corner, Sid came and played, people like that. Anyway, the Stones asked me to be their tour manager, and Charlie wanted to talk to me about it, so okay. So we went to dinner together, and we were in this cafe, a really nice Italian restaurant in the King's Road, having dinner. And we were sitting there, just me and him, having a chat, about the tour that was coming up and how we were going to do things, all this stuff. And I could see this guy approaching with an autograph book, approaching our table. So as he got to the table, I stood up and I said, "Look, listen, man, we're just having dinner, give us a break, we come back after we finish dinner or whatever." And Charlie went, no, it's okay. It's okay. I'll sign this book. So he took the book. Charlie signed it. The guy left. He was happy. Charlie looked at me. He said, "Don't ever forget, it's the fans who pay for dinner." And I never forgot that. And that, of course, is the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that without the fans, it don't matter who you are. Your income stream is dependent upon their love and support. And you know what I mean?
It's a little.
He was a lovely man.
It's not off topic, but is it? They're playing Detroit tomorrow. Is it odd that they're out there without him at this point? Now, personally, my answer to that is, these guys have a huge tour booked. You got to go. You got to play millions and millions and millions of dollars. But is it?
No, if you want to play, and you're in a band, you need a drummer. If the drummer dies, you get another drummer. However much you loved him, simple.
Yeah, good. I agree.
I mean, it's not, Charlie was lovely, and he's the heart and soul of the Rolling Stones. But I mean, the Rolling Stones are down to two guys, two of the originals, Mick and Keith. You know what I mean? It's like a car, isn't it? You've got this car, and it's like Yeah, man, it's a 1928 Mercedes Benz, and you look at it and you go, "Well, how much of it is original?" Well, you replace
Yeah,
it,
right.
you replace this bit, you replace that, but it's still a 1928 Mercedes Benz. You know what I mean?
Could you tell us? Tell us one thing I really love in the book too is, usually when you hear about Hendrix, it was amazing. He was amazing. In the book, you kind of said, "Hey, I saw him once. He really wasn't that good." I guess even Hendrix had off nights, right?
Sure, of course. He's a human being, man. He's a human being. You make normal, ordinary human beings into gods at your peril.
Absolutely.
No, Jimmy was cool, man. He was a lovely guy, but I mean, he made mistakes in his life. One of the mistakes he made in his life, I mean, this is a very interesting photograph. Here's Mick and there's Jimmy, right? That's backstage at Madison Square Gardens. So two guys and how they handled their respective musical careers. Jimi Hendrix only played the music and didn't give a toss about the business and never paid any attention to it. And his business affairs were a complete and utter shambles. Whereas Mick always has stayed right on top of the business and was indeed, basically, in control of it from word go. So, and Mick was a lot more, let's say a lot less adventurous than Jimmy was when it came to drugs and stuff. I mean, Jimmy didn't have to particularly be, this wildly fit cat. You don't have to do much to play. This is playing the guitar. This is what you're doing. Let me see if I can get it on screen, right? Oh, I'm playing guitar. Oh, mate, I'm working out here now. Oh, look at it all go. Oh, you know what I mean? Whereas Mick's running around like a bloody, Olympic marathon runner.
Yeah.
So Mick has had this thing his whole life that he's got to be fit and he's got to stay fit. Well, most drugs don't, fit into that kind of schedule.
Yeah.
So Mick's always been relatively drug free. I say that, with a tongue in cheek. Mm-hmm. And he's stayed alive. And Jimmy, Jimmy like Janis, experimented with drugs and went into all kinds of areas that he wasn't really, didn't know about. We didn't know about that shit in those days.
And amazing, they all died at the same age, at 27. Janis, Jimmy, Pigpen, Kurt Cobain. It's 27 years old, so young, incredible,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm fortunate insofar as I got through 27. What year? I was born in 43, 50. That's 1970. Yeah, so I survived that. I survived. I mean, one of the reasons I survived is because I didn't believe in doing all those drugs, which I describe as destructive drugs.
Right.
I don't do drugs that can kill you.
Yeah.
I don't drink alcohol. Some people do. I don't. I know people who died from it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, I don't do any drugs now. I haven't done any drugs for 8 years. Because I had lung cancer and stomach cancer and stuff, and so
Are you still smoking cigarettes?
Am I? Hell, no way. I haven't smoked for 8 years.
Good.
No, man, I'm doing this new drug. It's fantastic. You want to know what it's called? Oxygen.
There you go.
Yeah, that works.
Take another hit.
Exactly, man. Yeah. Frequently.
Hey, so let's segue out of this thing. Let's get out of the Altamont thing. And it seems to me that after the Altamont thing, I don't want to say it sort of feels like you got left holding the bag a little bit, but you
totally.
By your own virtue said, I'm going to stay in the States and I want to. Somebody's got to handle this, and someone we can't just run away from it. And
exactly.
you stayed in the States and you dealt with the Angels, and then Jerry Garcia kind of showed up and what a great part of the book.
Let me say some stuff about this, right?
Please.
First off, about the Hells Angels. Immediately after Altamont, I went to a meeting with all the presidents of the California chapters of the Hells Angels.
Right.
They treated me with great respect, and I appreciated it then, and I appreciate it now. And I always tell people, if you treat them with respect, that's what you get back.
Mm-hmm.
If you fuck with them, well, watch out. They're excuse me, they're more than capable of handling anything that's thrown their way. They were very good to me. I tried to help. It was a dreadful situation for them. They hated it just as much as anybody else. It wasn't any good to them. They went to what they thought was going to be a party that turned into a shit show. So they weren't happy. But anyway, they always treated me fairly and kindly, and I appreciate that. I just want to go on record on your show as saying that. And I've known some of those guys now, for 50 years. And,
an interesting note that you say in the book is that the Hells Angels that you might have been acclimated to in Europe or in England were a far cry from the Oakland guys.
Yeah, of course, man. Absolutely. Of course. But I knew that. I knew that the Hells Angels in America were. I knew about America, you know what I mean? And I've got friends that lived in America who told us about it. But the Grateful Dead had a relationship with the Hells Angels. You've frozen again, Drew, right? They had a relationship with the Hells Angels that was based on partying together over many years. The people that came to Altamont didn't have a clue about who the Hells Angels were. They weren't from San Francisco. Didn't know any of those people.
There you go.
Yeah, there you are. I was just saying, did you hear what I was saying?
No, I did. I got knocked off, but I guess
knew the Hells Angels for many years. Were personal friends of the Hells Angels. They partied together in a small little scene, which was the San Francisco scene.
Right, San Francisco, Bay Area, Oakland, San Francisco.
Yeah, right. Oakland, Richmond, San Francisco.
Yeah.
Actors all knew the Grateful Dead, and dug the Grateful Dead as people and as a band, and they all took drugs together and had fun together and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Right, when Altamont happened, there were chapters of the Hells Angels from all over America, right? People from all over America, and there were also kids from all over America, and they'd never met one another. So there are people from, as I say, San Jose, San Bernardino, Livermore, all kinds of weird places. Anyway, the Hells Angels treated me with respect. I treated them with respect, and we moved on after Altamont, and such was the best. I didn't have anywhere to live. The Rolling Stones left. It was agreed. I agreed with Mick that they should leave, and I'd do my best to, clear up the mess. And they left, and I had nowhere to stay or anything, And Jerry very kindly offered me. I was living actually in that barn right there.
That's Mickey Hart's barn in Novato.
In Nevada, yeah. And I was staying in the barn. And Jerry came out there about 2 days after Altamont and looked at me and said, where are you staying? I said, I'm staying here. And he went, you can't stay here, man. Come and stay at my house.
Were you in the barn? Were you in the barn with the hay and the horses?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And he goes, you can't stay here. Come and stay at my house. So I went and stayed at his house. Yep. Bless him. And him and Hunter were sharing a house. Mountain Girl
in Larkspur. How do you pronounce that?
Yeah, Larkspur. Yeah,
Larkspur.
Yeah. Right. In the canyon there, and it was beautiful, man. It was beautiful, and they were very kind to me. And so Jerry and I started talking about, because the manager of the Grateful Dead had just run off with $300,000.
That being Lenny Hart, right?
Lenny Hart, the drummer's father, the Reverend Lenny Hart, a Christian minister, bless him, and And he'd run off with the money, so they were in a terrible state. And Mick and Jerry was very interested in how do you organize a band? How's the Rolling Stones organized? Because the Grateful Dead loved the Rolling Stones music, and so Jerry was shocked when I told him, well, the Rolling Stones basically are run by two girls in the office and a part-time accountant. They couldn't believe it, man. You know, the Grateful Dead were, you know, supporting 70 people or something.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's a huge family. And it was
Right.
like, it was unsustainable. They couldn't do that. So
Yep.
I spent a lot of time talking with Jerry about how they could, you know, survive. The whole point about the Grateful Dead at that time was they wanted to survive and keep the band together and the family together. How were we to do that? Well, the simple reality was the Grateful Dead didn't sell any records. So the only way they could make any money was to go on tour. But they weren't making any money. They were only making a couple of grand a gig, which wasn't very much, you know, even in the 70s. So I set about sorting that out. And basically what the Grateful Dead had to do was to go out and work and, you know, become famous. So in the first year that I was with them, I think we did over 150 gigs.
I know this is a little bit later on. I know this is 1972, but this is basically the crew you were rolling with, right? That's Rex Jackson.
That's Rock Scully there in the front with the beard. Rex Jackson, bless him, who's dead now, with the long hair, and me is sitting behind him. And we were all very stoned, and that's in Lille in France on the 72 tour.
Right.
Yeah, of Europe. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. What we had to do was, if you like, was professionalize the Grateful Dead and go from being this wonderful. I mean, I love their music from the word go, but going from being this wonderful kind of hippie collective into a slightly more together outfit. I mean, here's an example of who the Grateful Dead were. I wanted to see all the accounts prior to my arrival. So I was handed 2 plastic bags full of receipts, you know, like shopping bags.
From the previous regime.
From the previous maybe 4 or 5 years on the road or whatever, who knows what. I didn't even bother to look at them.
Right.
It's like, come on, man. You know what I mean? So, you know, to set up proper accountancy procedures, to sort out the money. They went on tour and they never came back from tour with any money. When they were on tour, I said to Jerry, well, how does it work when you need money on tour, like as a musician? So he goes, oh, well, you go and ask Matthews was their tour manager at one point, right?
Bob Matthews?
You go and ask the tour manager. So I said, so what? And he gives you money? He said, yeah, you know, dependent on how good your story is dependent on how much money you get. So people weren't eating properly on tour. Some people got money, some people didn't get anything.
And some people had better hustling skills, so they were able to get more money than the people that some of the people, like, say, and this is just my perception, right? Someone like Keith Gauchow, who's very shy and introverted, who probably never went to ask for money.
No, right, exactly. I mean, and it's like, you know, and then like Pigpen would spend it on a bottle of booze.
Right.
You know what I mean? Jerry would spend it on cigarettes, you know, and nobody was eating properly. So I'm like, listen, you've got to eat properly. And what you got to do is have per diems. And he's like, well, what's per diems? I said, well, everybody gets $10 a day. You know what I mean?
And you could do whatever you want.
You know, whatever you want with that's up to you.
What you want.
But at least you could go and buy a burger. You know what I mean? And then that still didn't really work. So what I did was I said, right, okay, well, you know what we're going to do? We'll feed people at the gigs. That way I know that once a day, everybody, it might just be
everybody gets one
everyone's getting a meal,
man.
You see, on tour's interesting, man. You can tour, you know, and not eat properly and get drunk and get stoned and all that and live, you know, not sleep properly, but you can't do it for long.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing. You actually, if you're on a rock and roll tour that lasts some time, I mean, the Grateful Dead have been on tour for God knows how many years, but you know what I mean? If you're on a tour that lasts 6 weeks, if you start partying the first night you're out there, mate, at the end of the first week, you're going to be done. Mate, you just ain't going to, you know, make it. So you've got to pace yourself, you know what I mean? And you've got to realize here, you know, you need to sleep, you need to eat properly. You know, just a simple thing like a cold, man. can, turn into this monster thing,
People learn the hard way. I've gone out with bands that fucking get on the plane and start partying early, before they even play the first show, they're shot. They're done.
Exactly.
They're done.
So
I want to ask you about. I'm sorry. I want to ask you about one thing that was very interesting in the book is that put things into perspective as far as the Dead goes. That they sort of set it up that, and you developed a relationship about touring with this guy. Tell us about how this guy kind of became the go-to guy as far as.
Well, this is what happened, right? The first, I had a meeting with the Grateful Dead. The first meeting, there was about 70 people there. And I was like, no way. I'm not meeting with 70 people to discuss tours. This is ridiculous. I just wanted to have a meeting, right, with the band and the crew. And all the old ladies went mental, man. Oh, that earned me... they were, oh, no, yeah. Anyway, eventually,
now you're the Antichrist, right?
Yeah, indeed. Anyway, I got it down to it's the band and the crew. So I'm sitting there with the band and the crew, and I'm going like, listen, first off, right, you've all got to be member of the Musicians Union. They went, the Musicians Union? What are you talking about? I went, no, man, like, what? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you've got to be, because, you're going to be playing outside of San Francisco in places, that are controlled by the unions. Trucks are controlled by the Teamsters Union. Sure. Stages are controlled by the stage workers unions, etc., etc. You got to be. You're playing in union halls, man. You got to be union members anyway. So they agreed to that. We joined them all up in a local number 6 in San Francisco, right? So then, because now you're a member of the union, right? You got to sign only union-approved contracts. That means a leader of the band has to sign the contract.
I see.
So I'm explaining all this to the Grateful Dead, and Jerry, bless him, the number one coward in the Grateful Dead, goes, well, I'm not going to be the leader. Don't put my name. I'm not signing nothing as the leader, right? So then there's this big debate about who's going to be the leader of the band. And the Grateful Dead, they always made decisions in the most elliptical and strange manner, but it turned out perfectly in the end, kind of thing. They all go, well, the one person who's the most difficult person to persuade to go out and do any gig is Phil. So Phil should be the leader of the band. So I said, okay, whatever, you know what I mean. So Phil and I got on fancy. Phil's a Pisces like me. So to cut a long story short, I had my first meeting with Phil to talk business, and I sat down and we smoked a joint together, and I said, listen, Phil, you don't want to be in an office talking about music business, do you? He goes, no fucking way. I hate it, I said, okay, well, look, I'll tell you what, we can do this once a week for an hour. How's that? And I said, and before we have the meeting, what I'll do is the day before, I'll send you over a list of possible gigs that we can do, how much money they're offering us and all that shit, who we're going to play with, what the hall is, all the information, right? I'll send that over, and you can decide, you can decide which one you want, and then we'll discuss it when we meet. So that worked very successfully for like 3-4 years.
Well, it seemed like you said at this point it was obvious and accepted that these guys have to get out and work. So I would assume that it became less and less an argument of, oh, we got to go out on the road again. It was a given that we got to do it. What's the best way to route it? What makes sense, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the Grateful Dead always loved to play. That was one huge benefit of the working with them. It wasn't, they weren't going like, oh no, not another gig. Man, we used to come home from tour and spend 2 days at home in Marin County and then go back to the airport and go out on tour again. But the band, loved playing, and they wanted to survive, and it was the only way we were going to make any money and pay off debts and stay as one. So that's what we did. And we survived, and I mean, it made the band. It made the band into who they are, because there's no question about it. The Grateful Dead are one of the greatest live bands, or were one of the greatest live bands that ever existed, and one of the reasons was because they played so much together.
Can I ask you about this guy?
Yeah, Pigpen, bless him.
I mean that now. I'm a little bit younger, and I never got to see them play with Pigpen. And for a lot of people later on, he sort of is another guy that they kind of got lost in the shifting sands of time. And yet, if you're a lover of the blues like I am, and Americana in general, he is the gem. He is the gem.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pigpen's father was a DJ that played only black music, in effect.
Right.
Chicago blues, early blues. Pigpen was raised on the blues as a kid, you know. He was a lovely man. I mean, I knew him very well. And I mean, Pigpen was very ill in the last 2 years of his life.
Right.
It had nothing actually to do with his drinking. It was some rare disease that he had, that he inherited, like a blood disease or something, like not leukemia, but something like that.
Is he one of these guys that never went to the doctor?
No, he did in the end. He went because he was just so ill. You know what I mean?
Right,
but
right.
He and I were very close. I mean, I was very close with everybody I worked with, because I had a standard rule: I didn't work with anyone unless I loved them and loved their music. I didn't need to. You know what I mean? I could be lazy like anybody else. You know what I mean? So all the people I worked with, I loved them, and Pigpen and I were very close. I used to make sure he had a bottle of booze if he wanted it, you know what I mean, and kept an eye on him on tour. Parrish made sure that he didn't get dosed, because he didn't like acid. He was one of those people. He didn't want to be high on acid, but he was the soul of the band, you know, man. And and again, you know, the Grateful Dead, like many bands, have had to suffer, you know, through all kinds of trials and tribulations. You know, several keyboard players have died. Pigpen died. That was a major challenge for him. But it made Jerry.
Was it difficult for him? It seems that as time went on towards the end there, I don't want to say he was marginalized, but the music changed a little bit and it was sort of passing him by. Was that apparent, like being there in that moment?
I think you can. That may be partially true, but I think you can overemphasize that.
Okay.
No, I mean what Pigpen was doing was struggling with an illness that eventually killed him.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, it was very difficult for him. You know, I mean, man, it's hard to be ill on tour. Really difficult. I mean, I think, you know, you could safely say that Pigpen, you know, wasn't the greatest organ player that ever lived. You know what I mean? But he was a fantastic harmonica player, and he was a fantastic front man. So he did his thing, you know what I mean, on in front of the band. You know what I mean? I mean, Europe '72 was the last tour he did.
Well, here we go. Boom. So you really were integral in really putting this Europe '72, which for a lot of us, this really is the great document, the great of that era, and arguably their greatest moment. There's a lot of people out there that feel like '72 was really the Grateful Dead's, you know, great moment. And
I personally feel that they musically were never better than because again they played so much. Man, immediately prior to going out on the European tour, we maybe had done, you know, 70 gigs in like 3-4 months prior to Europe. The band was hot. They wanted to play. They loved the idea of playing in front of people that didn't speak English. You know, they wanted that experience, you know.
I love doing shows. I love doing shows where I don't even look at my notes. When it's going like that, I don't even notes. It's just freestyle. That's great,
man. It's like the Europe '72 tour was magic. You know, they wanted to play, they were hot to play. In fact, Garcia complained constantly that he wasn't getting enough gigs in Europe.
Well, because of the logistics, right? It's that,
Yeah,
you have to
exactly.
travel.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry man would play every night if he could, but you know, they insisted on taking. We took 52 people with us.
Jeez.
Yeah, on tour. You know what I mean? So all the family that wanted to come. So yeah, it was very difficult, you know, to get as many gigs as we could. But I personally think, yeah, Keith had joined the band. He was hot as hell on piano.
He sure was, man.
Yeah, he and Jerry, you know, were facing off together and playing together. It was brilliant, wonderful, and yeah, if anybody that's listening to this hasn't got into the Grateful Dead yet, go and listen to the Europe '72 triple album, and you won't hear anything hotter.
I gotta ask you about Owsley Stanley. Were you close with him?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Look, where's your? Look, there he is on my arm.
There you go.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the bear was. He was a wonderful man and a visionary, and involved in so many of the technological developments that the Grateful Dead undertook, and provided the you know, the kind of stimulus, the imagination, the technological imagination that resulted in the wall of sound, that resulted in probably the best sound system that the band had toured with in the early 70s, for sure, no question about that. And you know, changed the way all the guitars were built, you know, through Alembic, the company that he founded that built instruments. One wonderful man who happened to make many millions of trips before there was a law anywhere in the world that said LSD should be illegal. So he was a brilliant chemist, a visionary, and yeah, sorely missed.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I was just wondering, is it a coincidence that you ended up down in Australia, or did your friendship with him have anything to do with, you know?
No, complete coincidence.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew he was here. No,
Yeah.
I fell in love with an Aussie girl.
There you go.
Basically, and we went and had a look at Spain, actually, originally.
Uh-huh.
And she didn't like Spain, and she wanted to come back here because she hadn't been with her parents, and her parents were getting old, you know. So we came to Australia. Yeah. Listen, I just want to ask something, because I'm starting to get a sore throat. I don't know how long I can go on for here, Drew.
Okay, let's do this. Let me take a sponsor break and shout out my sponsors, and we'll come back and we'll take a few questions from around the world and we'll wrap it up.
Sounds great. All right,
okay,
my friend. I can do a quick run to the boys.
Go ahead. You got 5-10 minutes.
All right, mate. Lovely. Thank you.
Well, there you go. This is, believe it or not, the New York Hardcore Chronicles live. Thrilled to have on the show today Mr. Sam Cutler, coming at us from Australia. I mean, personally, I'm absolutely just, it's big in my world. And we are sponsored by The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, and New York Hardcore Comics. Opened in 2013, selling comic books, punk rock and hardcore memorabilia, toys, statues, skateboard decks, tapes, vinyl, and all things horror. We love helping bands push their demos or new tracks, so please drop by and drop off your new music. We have in-store events like Magic the Gathering and Warhammer tournaments, plus meet and greets with bands and some live performances. Open 7 days a week and shipping worldwide. Find us online through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and eBay. Located at 117 Main Street in lovely Dobbs Ferry, New York. www.NewYorkHardcoreComics.com. Also, Generation Records since 1992 has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as T-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and on Instagram. Last but not least, DTFM Vinyl Distro is a record store that specializes in underground music, punk, ska, hardcore, metal, and more. Located in the heart of Fargo, North Dakota's Industrial District, Shop in person or online at www.dtfmvinyldistrict.com, where the motto is Death to False Metal. Want to mention real quick the next 4 shows coming up. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. This Wednesday, come on now, this Wednesday, this Wednesday, from Overkill, Shadows Fall, Flotsam and Jetsam, formerly Stigmata, Jason Bittner, the drummer, will be on the show. A couple days after that, another drummer, Veronica Bellino from Life of Agony. Wednesday, November 24th, we've got Tom Soares, producer and engineer from up in Normandy Sound, did all the great stuff with Cro-Mags and Leeway and Agnostic Front. And then Sunday, November 28th, Mr. David Ellefson, formerly of Megadeth, currently of the Lucid and Altitudes and Attitudes. That should be an interesting one. So check that out. I also want to mention people out there that are watching the show that may not know this. You might say, yo, I love this show. How can I support this show? Funny you should ask. Boom, right here, right now, there is a Patreon page. Don't be a Patreon, join Patreon. Please support this show. That's what enables this whole thing to happen. Yeah, thank you, Diane. We got a lot of great shows coming up. Yes, Bittner is coming up. BL Brett. Hey, listen, everybody, get your questions together. Post up. It's question time for Sam Cutler. So post up your questions. Just real quick, I want to mention a few other shows before we bring Sam back. Real quick, the next 4 shows. Here you go. Mark Nickel, MAD Tour booking coming on the show. Then we got Michael McDermott from Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, the Bouncing Souls, and Murphy's Law. Then Sunday, December 12th, this is Boston, not LA, 40th anniversary. And then got a big one. Kevin Seconds is coming on the show on Sunday, December 19th. So come on now. Get your shoes and socks on, kids. It's right around the corner. Or, as they say in Grateful Dead land, clank your chains and count your change. I think that's kind of everything that I need to say. The book is sold out. A second printing is on the way with an alternate cover. If you slept on it, it is coming down the pipe. It'll be here probably in a couple of weeks. So you can order it. The pre-order link will go back up. Second printing. Thank you, everybody. The first printing sold out. There's a whole bunch more coming pretty soon. So don't be scared to order the book. And if you are a patron, you get the book for free. All right? And yes, Antidote NYHC is playing Vinny Stigma's birthday party in New York City on December 5th. Here you go on that one with The Take. Speaking of Agnostic Front, Will Shepler and Scott Roberts. Boom. December 5th, The Take, Antidote NYHC, Enziguri, Non-Residents, Fire is Murder. Sunday matinees are back on the Bowery. Free show, all ages. Don't be scared. Take my hand. That said, I think I got everything looking good. Come on now. Let's bring our guest back. Here we go. Mr. Sam Cutler. Hey, man.
Hey.
How you feeling?
Breakfast.
I got you up early for this thing.
Mate, it's really,
Yeah.
and they're still an hour late.
Yeah. All right. Let me poke around here. Let me see if I got any. If I have any really. You know what I wanted. You know what I wanted to ask you about real quick. I mean, we don't got to get crazy on this one, but this is a guy that comes up a lot, and I know he was a big part of this whole thing, and that's Bill Graham. And it seems like you had a somewhat tempestuous relationship with him. Could you tell us about it? Yeah.
The first time I met him, I had a fight with him. It was on the stage in Oakland, the Rolling Stones show in Oakland. In between the two shows, I was with Charlie, funnily enough. Charlie wanted to go out and see what was going on as we were setting up for the second show. And we were standing backstage, and there was a guy on the stage pushing this girl that was trying to climb up onto the stage from the audience, pushing her back into the audience really roughly, And Charlie said, "Who's that guy?" So I said, "I don't know, He said, well, go and get him off the stage, man. You know, we can't have people behaving like that. You know, look what he's doing with that girl. Charlie got really offended, you know, by him being so rough. So I went over and said to him, I tapped him on the shoulder and he looked up and I said, hey, man, you know, you don't have to do that. You know, this is the Rolling Stones. We can handle girls. We can do it ourselves. We don't need your help. Mm-hmm. He goes, do you know who I am? I said, I don't give a fuck who you are. You know, he goes, no. I'm Bill Graham, the promoter. He goes, this is my stage. So I said to him, listen, mate, it's not your stage. It's the fucking Rolling Stones stage. And then he tried to grab me. So I punched him. I mean, and then a fight ensued, you know. And then he got all stupid. You know, like we got separated by various, you know, security guys and everything. And then Bill got all stupid and was demanding to see Mick. And Mick, you know, Mick was going, I don't want to talk to him. And eventually I said to Mick, and Ronnie Schneider did as well. We said, look, you're going to have to talk to him, you know, because he's saying the second show won't go on and blah, 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 blah. So Mick said, oh, all right, I'll talk to him. So Mick was putting on makeup, you know, in front of this big, like, mirror backstage, and Bill Graham came in, you know. And he saw me, and he pointed at me, and he goes, the second show won't go on if that man's still in the building, or some bullshit like that, you know. And Mick looked at him and said, who are you? And Bill went, I'm Bill Graham, the promoter. And Mick goes, Bill Graham, the promoter. Yes. Didn't you speak to me on the telephone in London? And Bill goes, yeah, I did. And Mick goes, oh yes, I remember you. You shouted at me. You were very rude on the telephone. Now, Sam works for me. Sam's a naughty boy, but he works for me, not for you, Bill. I'll decide what happens with Sam. We're going on stage in 5 minutes. The show will begin. Thank you very much. And just turned around and kept putting his lipstick on. And that was the end of Bill Graham. So Bill and I always had issues. But with the Grateful Dead, and that picture that you showed of me talking to Bill Graham.
Yeah, there's some body language going on in that picture.
Yeah, well, it was really simple. What I was doing was I was telling Bill Graham, listen, Bill, this is what's going to happen when the Grateful Dead play for you. And it don't matter whether we play for you once a month, once a week, you know, 20 times a year, whatever. If you paid us $2 the last time we played for you, the next time we play for you, you're going to pay us some more. That's the abiding principle. We need more money. Simple for my band. That's it. And
I love the body language here. You can tell you're saying, and he's going, what do you want me to tell you? I do.
Man, I knew every fucking trick in the book, and I knew what he was up to. I knew how he was scamming tickets and doing all kinds of shit. You know.
Well, one thing you do mention is that this venue was, in your opinion, really one of the greatest venues of all time.
Yeah, it was wonderful, Bill. I mean, I've got no criticism of Bill when it comes to putting on a show.
Uh-huh.
He was the best. He invented it in terms of rock and roll.
Yep.
No question about it. But I mean, he didn't treat his artists very well in terms of the finances. You know, he always wanted top dollar for him.
Mm-hmm.
I represented my artists, you know, so my attitude was, well, I want top dollar for the people I work for. And I always got it. Always.
Let's take some questions and feel free to eat while we do the show.
I got it, man. I'm starving.
Do what you got to do, baby. Let me find.
Thank you. That was just my breakfast. Sorry about that, folks.
No, come on. We're happy you're here, man. Let's see. I saw a couple of good ones. Hold on, let me see.
Good, just take them as they come, man. Good or bad, it don't matter.
Okay, I like this one. What are Sam's thoughts on modern bands? Are there any that he feels are anywhere near as good as the Dead?
Well, comparisons are odious. I don't like saying, this band's better than that band, because everyone's trying to do their best. I love, talking about, contemporary bands, I love Billy Strings.
Oh, man, I love Billy Strings.
I think he's fantastic.
Oh, come on now. Yeah.
So there are great bands around, man. Of course there are. I mean, I don't go out much anymore. So I'm not, in touch with a lot of what's going on. But every generation will throw up its good bands. The Grateful Dead were part and parcel of an amazing flourishing of the American music scene. I mean, amazing, and they were only part of it. I mean, there was the band, there's the Allman Brothers. There were so many wonderful bands, Dare I say it, Creedence Clearwater Revival, all kinds of people, Crosby, Stills and Nash. I mean, so many. So each generation will provide the music that it deserves. You know what I mean?
I had to throw this up. I had to throw this one up.
Yeah, sure.
Favorite,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were great. Bless them. I knew them well. I mean, I did shows with them. They were good people. Good, and very much like a kind of southern version of the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
Insofar as they were great believers in family. I had a lot of people they supported. They were very generous. I had a wonderful attitude.
Here's
people, just let me just say this: they had a wonderful attitude in front of their era in terms of people of color. They were great. The Allman Brothers didn't have a racist bone in their bodies. And when I went to Macon, they used to take me out to this African American restaurant place. Mm-hmm. Really funky, and we'd eat all this southern fried food, and it was magic. And the old lady that ran it, she used to feed them when they didn't have any money or anything. They were a starving new band, and she used to feed them, and they were still friends with her. She was in her 90s, brilliant old lady.
Wow.
So yeah, they were very special.
This next question is from a dear friend of mine, somebody I grew up with here in New York City, right. And we, as young teenagers, we saw the Grateful Dead many times together. We waited online for tickets when they played the acoustic sets at the Radio City Music Hall, and this is somebody I probably saw the Grateful Dead with close to 100 times. Right. And he says, Sam, fondest memory of Europe '72 tour?
Well, there was a few. That stick in the old brain, I mean, one was just walking out at Wembley, which was a horrible place, really. It was an ice rink, so it wasn't really, made for music. But walking out and saying to the audience, well, we finally made it. We're here to play in Europe, right? And then standing back and just watching the audience look at the Grateful Dead, and 10,000 jaws dropped to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
People could not believe it. That was one. Another favorite memory was we played the last gig of the tour at the Lyceum in London, and it was a hot night. I remember that. And anyway, it was one of those places where all the ushers had red jackets, right? Right, black bow ties and white shirts, and all looked very official. And the manager came up to me and said, "No, listen, we have to finish at 12 o'clock." I said, "Man, you can't tell the Grateful Dead when to finish. Who knows when? If we might play till 6 o'clock in the morning. Who knows?" "Oh no, I said, look, don't worry about it. Just let it go, right? And we'll see how it goes, right?" So it turned into one of a heaving Saturday night, mate. It was madness. We were all going around Jupiter. Anyway, my mother and my stepfather had come to the gig, right?
I could only imagine.
Oh,
bringing
mate.
someone like that into that scenario in 1972.
Right, my mother was up in the
Lord,
balcony.
man.
Right, I am like a foot off the ground, stoned off of my brains. Right. So I go and get my mother because Garcia said to me earlier. He said, "Bring your mother down to the dressing room at the half." You know what I mean? And we'll say hello. So I said, "Okay, right." And then I brought her down. Everybody's smoking dope. They're all stoned and everything. So I go up, take her in. I said, come on in. And Jerry's sitting there. And I say, "Jerry, this is my mother," right? So Jerry kind of peers at her through his little eyes and goes, "Your mother? I didn't know you had a mother." So that wasn't a very good start, right? And then my mother says to him, "This music of yours, Mr. Garcia," Jerry goes, "Yeah." She said, "It's dangerous. Don't you realize it's dangerous? It's far too loud. It's deafening," and blah, 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 blah. Gave him this, told him off, right? And Jerry just sat there completely off his face. So none of it was it. And I kind of
seeing trails come off your mother's face, right?
Yeah. I ushered him out, right? Ushered him out and put him in the car and sent them back home. I mean, they didn't stay for the second half. Anyway, one thing led to another, man, right? And it just got wilder and wilder and wilder. And we didn't end till about 2:30 in the morning, by which time all these guys that had the red coats and the bow ties no longer had bow ties or red jackets, right? We're dancing with girls in the audience and generally complete, utter psychedelic chaos going on. So that was a very memorable time.
Who was the main culprit in Let's Dose People? Was there like someone in that crew that was insidious when it came to like, dosing coffee urns? And was there somebody that was like usually the main culprit in something like that?
No, man, you never knew where it was coming from.
Yeah,
well, the only thing
right on.
you did know that it didn't come from Pigpen, but other than that, who knows where it came from? You know what I mean?
You go. And let's keep it that way, right?
Well, I mean, we all used to get high, but I mean, the thing is that people should realize, right, is the Grateful Dead used to get high before they played. All the band, we all used to get together in the half hour before we started, and we'd sit in the dressing room and all get together. And but the Grateful Dead did what we would call now microdosing,
which is just enough to sort of.
Yeah, we didn't want to have if you want to have a conversation with God, you take 200 micrograms.
Oh God!
If you want to play and still be high and all that, you take about 30.
Yeah.
So we were microdosing, is what you call it nowadays in popular parlance. You know what I mean? But I mean, not always. I mean, I can tell you, one time we played the Yale Bowl. There was about 20,000.
Connecticut, the Yale Bowl in New Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah, which holds 120,000 people.
Was that 73, 71 or 70?
Yeah. And there's only about maybe 30,000 people at it, all on the infield. The band's playing. I was so stoned, man, right? So I get Sonny Hurd to come with me to collect the money. Meanwhile, at the gates, there's this huge, "Can I see you as well?" That's it. It's just easier to talk to someone.
Yeah,
otherwise, I'm talking to myself on screen. It's a bit disconcerting. Yeah. So anyway, there was a huge riot going on at the gate between people who didn't have any, tickets and were trying to get in. Right? Yeah. So they were trying to get in. So there's massive fights going on. So we go in the box office to get the money. It's all on the table, mountains of money, right? And the next minute, a tear gas grenade, no less, goes smash through the window, and there's a tear gas grenade in there. Oh, mate, can you imagine? And I'm in the middle of counting money, and it was just ridiculous, stoned off of my tits. So it was, it was.
I never
challenge.
I never smoked DMT, but from what I perceive about it, anytime somebody would light that stuff up, it seemed like something would go awry. What was it about DMT?
Well, when I was with the Stones, right? That's my first meeting with DMT. I went to the box office for something at that Oakland gig, the same Oakland gig I had a fight with Bill Graham at. And I was walking back to the backstage, and I came across Ian Stewart, the piano player who did all the equipment and everything. And Ian Stewart said to me, "Oi, those Grateful Dead people, like the crew from the Grateful Dead, were helping out with the Rolling Stones, right? They said they're all smoking this shit that makes you fall over." And I looked at him and I said, "Stu, don't be fucking stupid. I've smoked everything known to man. There's nothing you can smoke that makes you fall over." So he goes, "They're falling over, I'm telling you." So I said, "Right, I'll sort this shit out," right? So I go steaming backstage. I'm in a suit, you know, with the briefcase and all that, looking very managerial and tour manager. And I walk up to this little guy who I subsequently found out was Owsley. And I'm like, you know, what? Hello, what's going on here? At which point he puts this pipe in my mouth, and I take a big swig on it, thinking it's pot, right? And fall over. Bang. Well, you know, like 30 seconds later, I came round. I still got the briefcase. And that was my first introduction to DMT. Yeah. And then Keith afterwards, after the gig, he swore that the DMT made the amps sound all weird. But just to clarify things, right, just so, because I see some questions up there. If you want to meet God, you take 200 micrograms of LSD. If you want to kind of keep maintaining and still be able to count the money and play the music, you take what I call a microdose, which is about 30 micrograms.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Here's I know if you want to tap out at any time, let me know. All right, tap out. Say, hey, this is the last one. Whatever.
Let's give it 5 more minutes, can we?
Yeah. This is our resident historian, Chucky Brown. He says, can he speak on the 2006 track Valiant from the electronica band Black Cab? I believe it's from the album Jesus East. Some cool spoken word he did on that track.
I did. And they asked me to do it an hour before I did it, and I didn't prepare anything. And we just did it straight off the cuff in one take. That's what happened on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. We'll do one more. Let's see. We did that. Oh, you know what? This is interesting. I had this in my notes.
Yeah.
One thing you really didn't touch on in your book was the Watkins Glen show. And you know, which, you know, people think Woodstock was big, but the magnitude of Watkins Glen at 600,000 people. And any memories of Watkins Glen, which was the Grateful Dead, the band, and the Allman Brothers band?
Yeah. I mean, plenty. I mean, the thing about it started with a conversation that I had with Jerry. After Altamont, the Grateful Dead just went, and all the other bands at Altamont went, we are not playing any more festivals, outdoor festivals for free.
We're done.
Ever. You know what I mean?
Done.
You know, that was 69. So now we're fast forward to 73. And at the end of 72, you know, we were like, I was having a conversation with Jerry, and we were like, well, we could do an outdoor show, you know, if we did it right, if it was planned correctly, and if we had enough lead time, you know. So that was the genesis of Watkins Glen. And I've been working on a new thing with the Grateful Dead and putting them together with various people where, you know, 1 and 1 made 3. You know what I mean? If they played with the Allman Brothers, for example, you know, it was an amazing show. If they played with the band, it was an amazing show. So we, that's in the Bronx.
Is that Gaelic? Is that Gaelic Park?
Gaelic Park, yeah.
I grew up there.
Yeah, that's where that is. Anyway, so yeah, Watkins Glen came together, and it was going to be the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers, and I thought we should add another band. So I went and persuaded the band to play because it was just down the road from them, and it was brilliant. It was so special. The sound was great. The occasion was great. everybody was there. There was already 300,000-400,000 people there on the Friday night. Show was supposed to be a one-day show on the Saturday. So all the musos went, well, why don't we play, man? We're all sitting around here doing nothing. Let's play. So the Friday night, of course, turned into this wonderful jam with people from the band and from the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead. Very special. They made an album of it, I believe. You know, a pirate album came out.
Yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous. And the whole thing was great. It was one of those very, very special days where everything went right and, yeah, was beautiful. I remember one of my lasting memories of that is going in a National Guard, believe it or not, helicopter, flying, you're like this as a radio man, flying over the largest traffic jam I'd ever seen in my life, which was the New York State Freeway. Maybe 30 miles of the freeway completely blocked in both directions, with this helicopter from the National Guard flying over at low level, and loudspeaker going, "Do not leave your cars. Do not leave your cars. This is the New York National Guard. Do not leave your car. Tune in to FM radio, bam, 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 where you can listen to the show free on your radio. Tune in to FM, rah, 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 like this." So there was millions of people in the street, you know, well, on the motorway, dancing to the music. It was fantastic, man. It was such a sight, right? You know, and because the problem was people would just get out of the car and go, well, fuck this for a game of soldiers. I'm going to walk there.
Yeah.
There were thousands of cars abandoned on the freeway.
Yeah.
Right. So they were, you know, trying to get people not to leave their cars. And the Grateful Dead came up with the idea, well, let's simulcast it. If you put it on FM radio, everyone can hear it. But already, you know, it's like the same thing happened with the tickets. On the day before the show, I talked to the promoters and told them, listen, don't bother to collect tickets, man. That's just going to slow everything down. You sold more than enough tickets. Let them in. You don't have to announce it's free. Just let people in.
Why create the log jam where something bad can happen?
Exactly. Let them in. Yeah. So it was wonderful, and I think it was probably, you know, a highlight. Well, over the years, so many people have said to me what a wonderful time they had at Watkins Glen, and that's what makes, you know, being a tour manager worthwhile. I should say this about Altamont too. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have said to me, I had a great time at Altamont, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, you did. And they say, yeah, we were sitting up on the hill and we could never work out what was going on that made the music stop every time. All the hip people didn't want to be in front of the stage for the Rolling Stones. They're out the back having a joint and relaxing. They said, yeah, we're up on the hill, man. We had a good time. So that's the thing to remember. Choose the place that you're going to sit carefully, enjoy yourself and stay safe. And can I just put a shout out to all your listeners and all the people who are here. It's been lovely being able to share memories with you. At my age, it's lovely to have memories because goodness knows plenty of people have died, but we're still kicking on here. I've had, what have I had? I've had 4 wives and 5 cancers. There's me smoking a joint with Rex, bless him.
I thought this would be a nice photo to kind of go out on.
Exactly. Lovely. And life goes on, and bless the Grateful Dead and all the other musicians I played with, and bless America. I still have very fond memories of being in America. And thank you for having me on your show, Drew. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been a big one for me personally. You know,
right, brother. Lovely.
You know, the work that you've done through the years has really affected my life, and I want to say thank you very much.
Tell them all about my book, and there's another one coming up.
I will.
I'm finishing my second one.
Where did I put it? Yeah, I'll dig it out. But
I'll
let you get on with your day in Australia. Thank you so much. I'll speak to you soon.
I'm going back to bed.
You're welcome back anytime, brother.
Thank you, Drew.
Take care.
See you, babe.
Wow. That was big for me. You know, I love doing what I do, and I'm very fortunate to be doing this show and to have you out there watching the show. You know, some things resonate more than others for me, and having Sam Cutler on the show is like it's almost like a dream come true for me. So everybody out there that watched, you know, just thank you so much. You know, it was big in my world. You know, I got to go with tradition here because I've never not shouted out my sponsors. Two of them, located Chacho's Tacos, located in Corpus Christi, Texas. Opened their doors in 2001. Home of the almighty Chacho's Taco. They cook up an incredible home-style Tex-Mex food, and this month they're celebrating their 20th anniversary. They've been supporting underground music since the beginning, and in their own words, we ain't stopping anytime soon. Touring bands that play Corpus Christi swing by and get a home-cooked meal at Chacho's Tacos. We got you. The underground scene will never die. Please follow us on Facebook or on Instagram. Last but certainly not least, the Texas Silver Rush is a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. Goddamn electric. They specialize in working with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as to style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rowley, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. During this current pandemic, all information and online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram page, and of course, www.thetexassilverrush.com. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. Is everybody okay in there? Definitely in the top 10, Drew. Thank you, D. Big for me, dude. Big for me. Fucking Rat Bones, what are you doing, man? You got to be disruptive all the time? You know? Come on, Rat Bones. I'll deal with you later. Larry Kelly, bro. My brother of the road, Larry Kelly. Side trip as much as you. Yo, what's up? Do we have another side trip coming up? I think. No, but you know who? You know who I'm about to land is JJ French from Twisted Sister. That could be a side trip. He's awesome. Robert Hogg, thank you, brother. Yep. Thank you, Stefan, and everybody, man. Yo, Brett Zatani, I love you, bro. We grew up together in New York City. We had a lot of incredible adventures together with the Grateful Dead. Super high on LSD. Bro, I love you. You were part of growing up in New York City, man, and it means so much to see you here out there. Fabrizio, my man in Italy. Yo, keep my girls in Italy in check, man. I'm counting on you. My email for those that are wondering, it is, I'll put it up. Do I have a banner with my email here? I'll make a banner for my email. Here, this is my email right here. Boom, there it is. Stone4124@AOL.com. That's right. I got my email address along with Jesus Christ, Brontosaurus, and Stegosaurus. So there you go. Yeah, David. Awesome, right? Yo, I worked hard at getting Sam. Like, I worked hard and I got it, man. It was awesome. Frank Miller would be good. Hey, you know what? Let's do a couple minutes of suggestions. Who would you like to see on the show? Let it fly. Let's do it. Let's do it. And there's my email address. Darren, Drew, have a nice week. You too, brother, and thank you so much. Where are you going right now? It's CB. Where am I going, bro? Let me tell you something about doing this show, RS. Yo, big shout out Sunday. Shout out to RS70 who created this logo. Big graffiti lover. Usually when I do the show, I don't go out. I'm shot after I do the show. I make dinner. I relax. I come on strong on Monday morning. Filmmaker Robert Rodriguez. Yeah, that's cool. All right. Harley Cro-Mags. Yeah. I'd love to have Harley Flanagan on the show. Rocky George, good suggestion. Anyone from Black Flag. We almost landed Des Cadena, but he flaked on us. Gajowski, what about my boy Aaron from Death Threat and Pillars of Ivory? That's a good one. We had what's his name on, the singer for Pillars of Ivory, who sings for Why am I drawing a blank? Mind Force. Why am I drawing a blank? Singer of Mind Force. He was on. I talked to Louis. I talked to Luigi. He flaked. Phil. I'm always working on Phil. He's a tough one. Cindy Lauper lives in my neighborhood. She ain't coming on the show, bro. Ray Capo is on the to-do list. He's there. I talked to him now. He knows he's coming on. I almost landed him for the 150th show, but we ended up with Paris Mayhew, which was awesome. Jorge Marauder's not coming on the show. He don't want nothing to do with me or the show. Nope. Corrosion, yeah. Be cool to get one of those guys. Yep. Howie Pyro, I think, is ill, is very ill right now. They're doing a benefit for him. You know. Coxbar. All right. Good suggestion. Did I mention? Wait, you know what? Here's a show that is hot off the presses. This hasn't been announced in any way, shape, or form. We did the flyer actually like a couple minutes before the show. But coming up, this is like a Wednesday show. Coming up Wednesday, December 22nd, is Mr. Mike Bullshit Bromberg from SFA and Go. So you may know this guy, original singer for SFA. He sang for Go, and he did the fanzine Bullshit Monthly. Yo, once in a while, we got to get back to some hardcore shit with the show, you know? Hey, Dark Star Woodworking, I saw you. Thanks for chiming in. I hung with Sam all over the country on the Further Bus Tour in 2014. A good friend and great to see him. Thanks for putting him out there for people to hear. Yo, Dark Star Woodworking, Sam just got exposed to my whole crowd here, all my punk rock and hardcore friends that watched the show, and it was great. Listen, Bob Riley's internet sucks, bro. Talk to Bob Riley. We have Bob Riley on it. His internet is like 2 fucking tin cans with a string in between. DRI guys don't want to come on the show. I'm not really sure the reason. They deaded it. Not sure why. No DRI guys want to come on the show. If you know them, ask them why. They don't seem to. Tom Araya, you think? You think, bro? Wayne Jane County, good one, Larry Kelly. That's a good one. We had Richard Manitoba, you know. Rob Flynn, I've talked to. You know, he's busy doing his thing. You know, we got to Rob Flynn will come on. We could do that. Ted Nugent. I wish we could get Ted Nugent on the show. I'd love that. You know, I'd love to talk to Ted Nugent, you know. Yeah. Yeah, Bullshit Monthly, B. Exactly. Listen, there's room for everybody on the boat. And now that we're doing these side trips things, you know, everybody's welcome here. You know that. And we'll make our way to everybody. You know, we'll make our way to everybody eventually. Paul McCartney, dream big. You know, Stefan, you want to talk about dreaming big? People ask me, like, Drew, what are your dream guys? Paul McCartney, Roger Waters, Bob Dylan, you know, Phil Lesh, Bob Weir, Henry Rollins, Ian Mackay, Chuck Dukowski from Black Flag, you know, like these are, you know, but Sam Cutler, that's big in my world. Sam Cutler, that's really big. Yeah, Dez, we almost had Dez, but he's another guy. Some of these guys aren't too technically savvy. You know what I'm saying? And Dez is kind of one of them, you know? Gary, hey, Jason, what's up, brother? We did a show with Gary already. Gary was on already. What's up, Jason? Yo, Warzone represent. What's happening, Jason? Thanks for stopping by. John Lydon, we talked about this. I'm friends with John. He's got some issues. You know, his wife is got some issues. I'm starting to think we got to get John Lydon on the show for the 200th episode. That might have to be John Lydon. I might have to like beg, dude. Bobby Blitz is welcome on the show. Hegs, you know that. Keith Bennett for Wrecking Crew, Astoria Lou. That's not a bad suggestion, you know. Yeah, the Bad Brains guys don't want to come on the show. They don't want to come on the show. And I don't even want to get into it. Like, Dr. No, Daryl, they don't want nothing. No. And I don't even want to get into why or any of that. No sense of that. Waddy from The Exploited. I wish, but I don't think I'd even understand anything. Waddy's hard to understand. Leave in. Good suggestion, Spaghetti. Good suggestion, Spaghetti Lee. Leave in. Good one. Pat Dubois, he's on the to-do list. Very good. Yep. Yo, listen, bro. Now we're talking. Vernon, I'm on Vernon Reed, man. I want to get him on the show for sure. Now we're talking Dan Aykroyd. You know what's cool about this show? I like when I said to Sam Cutler, yo, Sam, I do this show. It's like the audience is like punks, skins, hooligans, and housewives. I'd love to have you on the show. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. It wasn't like, hey, man, I'm like a deadhead. It's like, dude, it's like I do a punk rock show. I'd love to have you on, Yeah, Kira would be cool. Mick Jones from The Clash or Mick Jones from Foreigner? Because if you're talking Mick Jones from The Clash, you're talking about one of my heroes. I don't think Lombardo would be interested. He don't seem like that kind of guy. Joe Pesci. Yo, Joe Pesci's retired, bro. You know what it took? You know what it took them to get him to do the friggin', what was it? What did he just do? What's the film he just did with De Niro? What's The Irishman? They had to beg that dude for years. He's done. Hard to be a prima donna when you're hanging out with a prima donna. Words of wisdom from Rat Bones. Another one is heavy as the crown. Yep. Great episode. Thank you, Dieter. It was. Let me see if I got any other. Here's a couple other. Here's a couple of pictures that we didn't get to on the show that I had standing by. Here's a cool one with Sam. And anybody know who this is with Sam? Come on now. Who's going to get it? Who is this with Sam? It's not Tom Sizemore. It's not Neil Hamburger. Come on, anybody? All the great. There you go. That's right, Cass. That's right, Spaghetti. That is Jack Cassidy, one of the great bass players of all time. Here's another one. This is a nice one. I didn't get a chance to show him this one. This is. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys out there know. Obviously, Sam is on stage with Phil Lesh. Was he on the tour with these guys? I see a lot of more recent pictures. Anybody know? Was he in the States with these guys or something? I'm feeling that belt buckle though. That's a cool belt buckle. Where was Sam Cutler and Phil Lesh on stage together? Anybody know this? Yeah, Ray Hogan. Hey, Ray, I'm coming up to. I think I'm coming up to Stanford tomorrow with trails. I need a break. No, that's not the late '80s, bro. No, this is. No. We didn't ask Sam, but he never saw the Grateful Dead after he split. He never saw them once he walked out the door in '74. Okay, that was. Thank you, Dark Star Woodworking. That was Locked in 2014. The Locked In Festival. Is that the one in Tennessee? DMT. Yo, who's got the DMT? Sounds like smoking DMT is like smoking angel dust, man. That shit was just knocking motherfuckers out of the box. What else? Another thing I didn't ask him about was if he knew Chris Shiruki. Now, Chris Shiruki was the production manager, for the Dead. He's a New York hardcore guy. We were friends. Here we are at the Dead show. He passed away a couple years ago. He kind of ran the whole thing for him. And Chris Shiruki was a guy that I knew many years. He came up. He was a New York hardcore guy. And a New York hardcore guy that ended up being the production manager for the friggin' Dead. So, that was my hookup. Whenever they came to town, Shiruki hooked it up. And I'd go see them play. So rest in peace, Chris Shiruki, a New York hardcore soldier who ended up working for the Grateful Dead. And for those interesting story, he went out to San Francisco. He started as a loader at the Warfield Theater, like just loading in equipment. Then he got a job as like working on the sound crew as like a third guy, like coiling cables. And he eventually worked his way up to the production manager of the Dead. Sean Brennan, my bandmate. What's happening, brother? Don Zientara. Yeah, that's a good one on the Discord tip. Yo, we got rehearsal in a couple weeks, Sean. Get your game face on. Yo, for those wondering, this is Sam's book. Really good book, man. I really enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the show today, read Sam's book, man. It's awesome. It's really good. What else? I think that's kind of it. I showed this photo. I never got to ask him. I did not understand. I did not know who was in this photo. Anybody out there know? Dark Star Woodworking. Who's in this photo? You got any idea? I see Sam in the middle. Is this maybe the Grateful Dead? Is this maybe his company? Out of town tours, or is this the Grateful Dead office here? You know, no. Where do you see Robert Hunter, Bees? I don't see Robert Hunter in that picture. You know Robert Hunter in there, bro. I don't recognize any other than Sam in the middle. Oh, is that John McIntyre next to him? Or maybe I'm wrong. Am I not recognizing Hunter? Where do you see Hunter? Second from the left? Huh. All right. Hunter left. All right. No, it's not Crosby. No. No. It's not Charlie Manson's Angels. No, this is a photo I found online under Sam, but I couldn't figure out. I wanted to ask him, like, who's in this shot? Yeah, that could be Kid next to Sam, right? Makes sense. Feeling the skull bong, right? The skull bong. You know, must have been a blast working for the Dead back then. You know, can you imagine? This is a photo I showed very early on in the show, and he has it on his Facebook page. This is like, I guess this is, from the looks of this, you'd think this is 73 or 74. You would think, right? Gotta be 73 or 74. This is the whole family, right? And you see Sam, I see Rock Skull, you see everybody in here, you know? Yep. Yeah, the more you stare at this, the more you see. Cool picture, you know? Cool stuff. I think that covers everything. You know? Big Steve, that's who we need on the show. We got to get Steve Parrish on the show. You know? Hey, by the way, we're going back to some punk rock shit on the next show. Well, not really. Hey, Heggs, is this punk rock shit? I don't think this guy's very punk rock. Is this a punk rock dude? Yay or nay? Is this yay or nay? Is this a punk rock guest? I don't know. He was in a pretty hardcore punk rock band to begin with, but let's see. You know? Let's see. Metal. It is metal. The answer is metal. Jason Bittner. Is Bowser from Sha Na Na still alive? I don't know. Yeah, they just played the other night, Overkill did. Ray Hogan says thrash metal. Yeah, I guess so. Yep. Non-applicable? Yeah, okay. Well, listen. Let's wrap it up. I want to thank, I know there's a couple people out there that don't normally watch the show, and they were lured in by Sam Cutler being a guest on the show. And I want to thank everybody from the Grateful Dead community and the Rolling Stones community that tuned in on the show today. And I noticed it was a little bit different. And it's nice to see everybody kind of mixing it up and getting along in there. It was a great show. Like I said, really meant a lot to me personally. Once again, I'm a fortunate guy. I'm doing something that I love, and I'm being supported by people, that just love the show. And, welcome to the dark side, everybody. Come back. Come see some of our other shows. Yes, Stefan. Yeah, I didn't recognize. Yes, you've been lured. Join us. We do cool stuff here. Yeah, it's bait and switch. Hey, we got Sam Cutler. Hey, we got Satan on. And that said, let me before I go, for a couple people out there that may not particularly know me outside of this realm, I'm a filmmaker by nature. If you have, these are a couple of the films that I've done recently. If you have Amazon Prime, the New York Hardcore Chronicles film is on Amazon Prime. So is All Ages XXX, the Boston Hardcore film, and also the New York Hardcore Chronicles film 1.5, films I directed. Also, the Michael Alago film, Who the Fuck Is That Guy? The Fabulous Journey of Michael Alago, finished its 3-year run on Netflix. It looks like it's going on multiple platforms in the new year. So feel free. And and there's also on YouTube, there's a library of all the past shows. So that said, let's go get something to eat, kids. Thanks a lot. I'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, I'm counting on you. I believe in you. Do good things, and good things will come to you.